YouTube live stream. What is going on, guys? Let me make sure my camera is all set up here. I think we're good. We should be good. As always, let me know in the live chat, in the comments there, if the audio is good, lighting is good, and everything like that. If it is, we should be good to go. Please disregard any sound of water you hear in the background or noise or anything like that. I tried to dampen down. We have a sump pump in the area that I do these live streams, and when it's raining out, which it has been raining quite a bit today, it gets a little bit noisy in the background. So I think I dampened it down enough and we should be good. We're going to be talking about possible new gun control, as the common theme has been for a lot of these live streams lately. While everybody is coming in and getting notifications for the live stream, I'll give you guys a little bit of an update on the range day that I had this morning. Before that, if you guys are looking for other ways to support the channel, you can head down to the live stream description. After these live streams are over, I always post down there all the links to the Firearm Freedom Discord server, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram account, Teespring account, and Subscribestar. So there's a bunch of ways down there that you can not only donate to the channel, but also see a lot of extra content that I have coming out on different platforms. And of course, if you guys aren't looking to donate to the channel or anything like that, I totally get it. Money's tight. You can just simply watch these videos, share them around with your friends. All that stuff really does help kind of make or break the YouTube algorithms that are really, really pushing down a lot of channels these days. Had a range day this morning, and it was another wet one. It was raining so bad, but you got to do what you got to do. I was testing the Wasser 10 V2 once again, and this video is going to be on an upgrades to that rifle. So the video that I was filming today is involving new furniture, Ultimac rail, a bunch of new upgrades to it, so I'm really excited about that. The upgrades video came out so fast for this rifle, mainly because the factory furniture was just god-awful. It was absolutely horrible. Just some of the worst furniture I've ever seen come on a rifle. It's almost like Century just sent it as like a placeholder, so it looks like a rifle in the box. I probably would have preferred it if they didn't even include it, if they just sent you a rifle with no furniture on it at all, and you could just put your own stuff on there, because the plastic stock, getting it off, and I'm just going to skim right over this because we're going to go into it in the full video on that rifle, but the stock was horrendously difficult to get off. Ended up having to cut it off. Really just a nightmare. But the rifle looks great now, and it is running incredibly well at the range. I also brought to the range today the Arsenal 106. If you guys aren't familiar with the 106, it is the 5.56 variant of an Arsenal standard side folder. Really, really cool rifle. Luckily, I was able to kind of stockpile a good amount of magazines for that rifle. Those are very hard to find. 5.56 Arsenal mags, really tough to find. I was also testing the AC Unity 5.56 mags today. Neil, what's up, man? And the AC Unity mags performed incredibly well. So impressed with those magazines for like $14 a piece. And they are steel reinforced everywhere. Really, I think a massive win, especially for the 106. They actually lock up into the gun even better than my Circle 10s. So that rifle performed great. I did have a first impressions video quite a few months, actually might even be a little over a year ago now. Time flies fast. And I just had the stock Arsenal furniture on there. And I decided to switch a few things up, so I actually made that gun a triangle side folder, and I put some like kind of Russian red color wood furniture on it, and then also a Bakelite lower handguard, and that rifle looks so mint. So you guys are going to see that as well. Surprisingly, and this will be the last side note for anybody who's watching this after it is live, I always kind of, ramble around a bit while everybody's getting in before we get into the main topics. So if you want to hear exactly what this live is going to be about, just kind of fast forward to probably around the 10-minute mark. We were shooting Tula ammo, 223 Tula and also 7.62 by 39. It was like almost 300 rounds of both. 300 rounds combined, 100 rounds of 223 and 160 rounds of 7.62 by 39. Guys, I have been shooting Tula steel case ammo in general, for many years, and I have hit well over that 20,000 round mark with various calibers. I can't even name you all of the calibers that I have shot steel case ammo, and I mean, pretty much anything that's steel case as far as calibers, you name it, I've probably shot it. And I've shot a couple hundred rounds of each and many thousands of rounds of steel case as a whole. And I've never had a problem. Ever had an ammunition-related problem. But like everything else these days, quality control is dropping significantly. And on a brand new box of 7.62 by 39, actually two brand new boxes of 7.62 by 39, I saw my very first steel case related issue. And yeah, it did kind of suck, but basically over half the box of ammunition was all cracked, totally cracked. So by the actual neck of the casing was massive, like cracks down almost each one of the casings themselves. It almost looked like the steel wasn't formed properly, and they just shoved the bullet in, and it just kind of like cracked out the steel in the neck of the casing. There were no cracks on the bottom of the casing itself, where obviously a bulk of your powder is going to be. It was just cracks up by where the bullet is underneath it. That sucked. I've never seen that before, and I can't tell you how frustrating that is nowadays, because it is so difficult to find this ammunition. And of course, now that you finally find a couple boxes, over half of the ammo that you bought is really having some major issues. Now, with that being said, I was shooting an AK, and I went ahead and shot it anyways. And I did not experience any issues, even with all those cracked cases. I want to have a little disclaimer there. I would not advise you to do that. If you have not been shooting for a while, you're not sure what a cracked case could mean. It could mean potentially a catastrophic failure. If it is cracked, if the case ruptures, that could mean that your entire lot of ammunition that you have is really spotty and probably not great. Maybe there's a double charge or whatever. So in any other circumstance, I would probably avoid that at all costs. In my case, I didn't, want to pull from any other ammo on hand. Talking to a couple of buddies of mine, kind of picking their brains, seeing if anybody has seen this before. And I did have a buddy of mine tell me, hey, I've seen that before way back in Sandy Hook days. The QC was all over the place with Tula back then. I got a lot of cases like that. I actually shot through them, and the worst thing I ever got was a really bad stuck case because the neck of the cartridge kind of split out a little bit in the chamber, but never anything too bad. So I went ahead and shot it anyways, and as my buddy had said, we experienced no problems at all. It still ran just fine. Now, I will say that if I saw any cracks on the base of the casing, that would have been an absolute no-go. I would not have shot those at all. But just up by the neck, it's not quite as big of a deal. But just understand that you could run into some issues with that. Obviously, the Wasser chugged along, no problems at all. Secondly, with that, with the 223 Tula ammunition that I had purchased, I actually experienced the worst stuck case I've ever gotten, ever. Now, I don't know if maybe I wasn't paying attention and maybe some of those cases were cracked in the neck as well. And I was, just loading them pre-range day and just didn't notice it. But on my Circle 10 Bulgarian magazine in the 106, I fired one round, and that first round got so stuck in the chamber, it is not even funny. There was not a damn thing I could do to get that casing out of the chamber. It had somehow lodged itself so good that I thought that rifle was going to be done for the day, and I was going to have to go home, get some tools out, and try to work at getting the case out. It was so bad. But luckily, I had my local friendly neighborhood AK wizard with me at the range. Shout out to you, Keith. I really appreciate you. But he's knows more about AKs than I will ever know in a lifetime, and he's a builder as well. And he was chugging along with me in the rain this morning, and he grabbed out a mini pry bar and actually sacrificed, I know, it's crazy, he actually sacrificed his Romanian magazine for me because he was hitting on the small mini pry bar with the magazine, the back of the magazine, like the spine, and it actually indented the magazine in, and after about 20 pounds with the magazine, all of a sudden the casing started to break loose, and then it finally knocked itself out, and the rifle didn't have any other issues that day. But I'm going to account that once again to ammunition. I've never had that problem before in the 106. I don't know what went down. It was obviously pouring rain, so I don't know if somehow the water had something to do with it. But yeah, it just wild. So just watch. Doesn't even matter if it's steel case. The PSA here is to just watch any ammo you're getting right now. Quality control, not only in steel case, but across the board. Brass, it doesn't even matter, is all over the place. They are pumping out more ammunition at all of these factories than they ever have before, ever. So it's very important that you pay attention to what you're loading in your magazines. If you're at a store, I know it's tough to be even a little bit picky right now, and you shouldn't be, but before you ring out for that box of ammo while you're waiting in line or whatever, it might be a good idea to just open it, look at some of the rounds, make sure everything is looking good, all the primers are seated properly before you purchase it, because most of the time, especially nowadays, there's no returns on ammo. So just be aware of that. What's going on, guys? Good to see everybody. I just picked up a Dan Wesson Classic Commander, new, very smooth, great range day. Pretty cool, buddy. Good to hear. John, hey man, haven't been able to attend lately. Glad to be back. John, good to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Gatcat, do you think QC is dropping because it's no longer needed since demand is so strong? People are buying regardless. I don't know if it's necessarily that, where, you know, they're just like, it's not going to matter if it's good anyways. I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of that going around. I think realistically, these factories are pulling like overtime like they never have before, trying to get out this ammunition, and they're just not able to do it, and they're really starting to cut corners trying to get out all this ammo, and I think you're going to just start seeing weird issues like that. I haven't seen it just with ammo either. I've seen these issues a ton with firearms themselves, handguns, long guns, it doesn't matter. I've seen a ton of weird QC issues with all this stuff going on. So that is the unfortunate common theme that's been really breaking out at the end of 2020, really mid to end of 2020, and now in the beginning of 2021. But that is going to lead us to what this live stream is really about, and that is possible new gun control, specifically possibly importation ban. What kind of sparked this? If you follow Firearms Policy Coalition on Instagram, I believe they sent out an email chain and also posted it on other social media pages. But essentially last week, midway through last week, 62 or 63 congressmen wrote into President Biden requesting an immediate executive order to ban the importation of high-capacity magazines and, quote, assault weapons. And they go on to state in their letter that, you know, blah, 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 bullshit, blah, 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 blah. You should read it yourself and see everything in there. It's a little ridiculous. But, yeah, so they're calling on Biden to do an executive order to ban the importation of, quote, assault weapons and also high-capacity magazines, or any magazine that they deem as high capacity is over 10 rounds. Before we dig into that entirely, we did have somewhat of a win. We got notified that bump stocks, according to the Sixth Circuit Court or whatever, are not to be deemed machine guns. They cannot be, deemed as machine guns. They are not machine guns, and because of that, that's a really big win. Now, I'm sure that's not the end of it. I'm sure they are going to revisit that relatively soon, and I'm not overly joyed about it, and I'll tell you why. I'm overly joyed that somehow in all this we have received a win. I am not super happy because a lot of the damage has already been done. It's like when everybody was talking about how Texas was the first state to reopen. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome that Texas reopened, and just opened everything up like everything was normal, blah, 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 blah. That's great. My frustration lies in the fact that the damage is already done. Hundreds of thousands of people have been affected by closings. Hundreds of thousands of people have already lost their jobs. Businesses have closed. People have lost a lot of money, all because of government mandate. So I personally am not going to be super quick to congratulate the government for fixing their own mistake that they have been torturing us with now for almost over a year. With bump stocks, the damage has long been done. Of course, many people probably did not comply. Many people probably led the true patriot life, and if you did, more power to you. But I'm sure there's still some people out there that legitimately cut up what they have now been told is a machine gun, an illegal machine gun that they have. They've cut up their own personal property. I'm sure Slidefire, the bump fire stock company, lost a significant amount of money. I'm sure they're almost on their last leg or out of business. I'm sure they had to fire most of their employees. Any of the other manufacturers of bump stocks have probably already gone out of business. So, here we are where they've fixed their own mistake. The ATF has already tortured people about it this entire time. People have already destroyed their property, all from something that we were telling the government is not correct, and lo and behold, they come to find out a few years later that it actually isn't correct. So, yes, I'm excited that we have a win here, but I will not jump up and start congratulating the government for fixing their own screw-up. So that did happen last week. I just figured some of you guys might be asking about that. So, there's that. When it comes to possibilities, a lot of people have been asking me over the past few weeks, hey, Joe, what do you think can be done, right? What do you think can be done with gun control? What do you think they're going to be able to achieve? I've seen many people wanting to bury their head in the sand and kind of make themselves feel better. So they'll come into the gun shop and they'll be like, oh man, they won't be able to pass anything. There's no way that legislation will pass. We have the Senate, the Senate will still back everything, and there's no way an assault weapons ban is going to pass. Sure, there might be some validity to that statement. But I think a lot of people are forgetting that there are many things that the government can do, many low-hanging fruit, if you will, that has been mentioned before. And that low-hanging fruit is generally things that the ATF can do themselves, is generally things that the president can do via executive order without even going through the legislative process. And that's what I would be worried about right now, thus leading us to an import ban. We've seen many import bans in even recent history. Even only a few years ago, we have been witnessing importation bans. Generally, these import bans affect AK variant rifles and ammunition. But with that being said, they can far reach to a much wider spectrum. All of these importation bans are the reason why we have to import certain rifles in stupid sporting configurations or shotguns in sporting configurations and then you have to go through expensive conversion processes to just get them back to what they were originally. And somehow, because the rifle or shotgun is so much less dangerous because it's in a sporting configuration with a goofy looking stock than not, it can be imported. But this is exactly how we lost 7N6 545 ammunition. This is exactly how we lost Norinco's, how we lost Vepers. And quite frankly, I think they have an incredibly good shot of doing just that, of doing an importation ban. We will see in a few weeks here, but I would imagine, and I'm already seeing it, it's disgusting in this community. It really is. I'm already seeing the people coming out of the woodworks saying, hey man, an importation ban wouldn't be too bad of a thing. I don't shoot those commie guns anyways. I'd rather guns be made in the U.S. You are out of your goddamn mind. You really are. I mean, they are out of their mind. Maybe people don't understand this, but this does not only affect, AK variants, okay? Glocks could be affected by this. CZs could be affected by this. B&Ts, any of the Strybogs, any of H&Ks could be affected by this. All of these different guns that don't have full manufacturing processes or manufacturing facilities in the United States will be affected by this. You're talking magazines that are being imported, especially ammunition that's being imported. We're not talking about just ammunition from, commie countries. We're talking about ammunition from South America. We're talking about ammunition from Italy, all these other places. Berettas could be affected heavily by this stuff. There are a wide variety, of different guns that will be affected by an across-the-board importation ban of quote-unquote assault weapons. And especially, there will be major issues with ammunition and magazines. So I love people coming out of the woodwork talking about how they don't care about an importation ban. This is the exact same thing we always see with things like bump stocks. When everybody said, I don't use one of those, I don't care if they're banned. You people do not understand the term slippery slope. And the reality of an importation ban is the fact that they will be taking firearms away from you and everybody else. That is their goal. Do you really think their goal by passing an importation ban is to just simply bring production to America? No, that is not the goal. The goal is to get all the little low-hanging fruit that they possibly can, and an importation ban would definitely be an easy thing, realistically, that they could just do by the swipe of a pen and say, we're not going to work with these countries and import these quote-unquote assault weapons. And not only that, you're going to have a bunch of people in this community that really don't understand one way or another, and maybe they're not AK shooters, and they think that's the only thing that's going to be affected. So therefore, they're going to go ahead and just not really make a fuss about this at all. And quite frankly, I would be pretty nervous about this one if I were you. If you do not already have a wide variety of magazines, foreign-made magazines for, say, your AK variants, I would definitely get those while you still can, because history has shown with Norinco's, with Vepers, that when an importation ban happens, you generally have roughly 1 to 2 years before the prices are astronomically high. Now, anything that you have that is, quote, pre-importation ban is skyrocketing in price. And of course, a lot of people before the importation ban that already have this stuff because we got a lot of greed going on, and everybody's going to be sitting there saying, hey, I can make a pretty penny off this, wasser that I bought for $800 or $640 a couple years ago, or $500. Now these things are going for $3,000 because they are not being imported anymore, and that's it. That's it. They're, the ones that are in the country are it. You're never going to see them again. The other thing about importation bans that generally happen is once they go through, it is very rare that they get turned around and things start being imported again. It is very, very rare. So yeah, this is going to be an unfortunate one. And if anything is coming real fast down the pipeline, it is going to be the importation ban. That's the reality of things. I wish it wasn't that way, but reality is it is probably coming pretty quick. So be aware of that, and do what you can to spread the information that this will affect far more than just AK variants. It will affect so much more. The ammunition alone will be so hit. I mean, unbelievable. This ammunition that's already so hard to find here in the U.S., these idiots that think this is only going to affect AKs, when they go and walk into a gun shop and are like, oh, where's all the 9mm? Don't really understand that half of the 9mm they're buying right now is from Argentina, is from other parts in South America, Magtech, Fiocchi, all this stuff, not U.S. made. Aguila, whatever, not U.S. made. So all this other ammunition that you have the luxury right now of being able to buy, that could quickly go like that if there's some sort of a massive importation ban. Now, yes, the importation ban at the moment is only talking about guns and high-capacity magazines, but it's very easy for them to hit on ammunition as well. There's so many things that can come once the floodgates are already open at this point. But once they open those gates even more with importation issues, and they realize how much they can pass without any sort of a really legislative process, those gates are just going to be burst all the way open, and they're going to go after pretty much everything they can that is imported into the country. John, just got my first two AKs, Arsenal Sam 7 and a Zastava Z-Pap. Worried about importation ban, not sure of quality of the Red Army ammo I got, but it seems like you are saying just get anything right now. I would. For ammo, yeah, I'd get whatever you can at a reasonable price. But, I mean, if you were at all interested in getting an AK, I would be getting one. If you're at all interested in getting things like a CZ Scorpion, if you could ever find one right now, which you're probably not going to be able to, and all these other PCCs, yeah, I'd probably get one rather than wait. I wish we could pass a law that prohibits new laws from oppressing the people over the actions of one lunatic. It's called the Constitution, but apparently that has been thrown out the window as well. Any ban is a domino effect in place to knock everything else down. Absolutely. Yes. 100%. Think about all the pistol calibers made by S&B, Magtech, etc. Yeah. It would be hit real hard. Strybogs are so bad they should be banned. Obviously the Gen 2 and even Gen 3 Strybogs are definitely not great. But the Gen 1s are still good, and I still wouldn't want them banned regardless. CE Stoner, yeah, this is insane. It absolutely is insane. Thompson, I'm looking at North Idaho, Western Montana for prepping. Best use of a 50 cal BMG. Don't be where you need one. Yeah, that's accurate. H&K SP5K, yeah. Man, talk about price increase. So, I am lucky enough to work at a shop that's one of the very few H&K direct dealers in the country. What that means is whenever a production line of an SP5 or an SP5K come out into circulation, we are one of the shops that get those guns. That's really cool. It's not easy to do, and I can tell you that we are still getting SP5Ks in at a price of $27.99 on Gunbroker right now. That's a retail price, mind you. And by the way, the wait list on those guns currently, right now, is almost 2 years, so solid on that one. But right now on Gunbroker, an SP5K can easily be seeing prices of almost $10,000, as ridiculous as that is. Easily. Now, imagine if some sort of importation ban went through. Yeah, forget about it. Forget about it. So, I don't know. So is this a buy anything, import you can right now? You guys know I don't want to like incite panic buying. Like I'm not here to, tell everybody to, like scream and act like they're on fire and rush to your local gun shop and buy out all the stock. I mean, what I will tell you is if you are low on certain magazines, ammunition, and you are interested in a rifle that is imported, prime example of really good imported AK mags, Circle 10 mags, right? The Waffle Bulgarian mags. I would buy them while you can. They're great magazines. Romanian surplus mags, any other surplus mags, FAL mags, G3 mags, all of these different magazines, Uzi mags, MP5 mags, anything, any of these mags are all import. All of them are import. All of them are, quote, over 10 rounds. So, I would buy what you can when you can buy it. That's just me. And I can tell you that the trickling effect that would have on everything else in the market is pretty extreme. Now all of a sudden, you're looking at a shortening of supply of even more that is already so short for this whole industry. So, not good. Joe, if you could only buy one rifle, $1,000 to $1,500 and $1,500 to $2,000, what would you get? Also, what would you buy, guns now or NFA items? If there is something in jail, would a ban affect those items? Good question. Man, that's a lot of money. If you don't already have a good AK, I would probably buy an AK, an Arsenal. You can still find Arsenals floating around sometimes at a reasonable price, or a Wasser and, do some upgrades to it for that price. If you already have a couple of AKs, an AR, whatever, I'd probably use that money and just buy magazines, honestly, at this point. Just stock up, man, as many as you can get. As far as getting an NFA item or buying a gun, a regular firearm right now, I've been getting this question like a metric shit ton lately. And I've been getting people rushing in to buy suppressors out of fear of bans and to get their check in before it gets banned and all this stuff. Guys, news flash, shiny lights, news flash, okay? An NFA item right now would be the last item that I would be buying. Last one. Like, the last thing on my mind right now would be getting an NFA item. Here's what you guys have to understand, okay? The federal government, whether you want to believe where the money is going or not, because it's supposed to be going to, like, park services or some other bullshit, the reality of it is they are getting, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a long time since I've looked at the number, but either billions or millions of dollars in tax revenue. Regardless, it is a ridiculous amount of money from taxpayer revenue, okay, from NFA items every single year. It is so much money, and it's unbelievable. On top of that, they have almost like 10 employees as a whole running like all of the NFA checks for the entire country. So you could imagine that the money they have to put in to even pay checks is pretty freaking low in the grand scheme of things, and they're banking all of that. Do you really think that they're going to wake up tomorrow and say, we want to axe all of that tax revenue that we are willingly giving the government to exercise our own rights? They are literally having us pay them for us to exercise a God-given right. Do you really think they're going to give that up? is it possible that something could get banned on the NFA, like similar to the 1986, machine gun issues with everything that went on in 1986? Sure, but I would say in the grand scheme of things, on the totem pole, and somebody's coming to chop it away, that's the bottom of the totem pole. Like, that's the stump in the ground for everything else that's going on. I don't know where, like, everybody started getting the idea that, like, oh, I need to run out and get a suppressor before it's banned. Like, guys, do not do that right now. That I would buy so much other stuff before I would buy a suppressor. On top of that, almost all of the legislation that's being proposed for assault weapons bans is wanting to put all of these guns on the NFA and have you go through the NFA process to get these firearms. So if they were to say that these NFA items need to be banned, then they are also saying that their entire plan that they want to do is not effective, because obviously it's not effective if they need to ban things off this process that they want to add these guns to. So again, last thing I would be doing right now is getting an NFA item. There are so many other things on my mind for money that I need to spend. I would so much rather spend a $200 tax stamp on magazines and ammunition right now. That is the reality. So, take that for what you will. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Nathan, as much as I love the MP5, 2700 is silly, to put it nicely. I agree 100%. I think it's incredibly overpriced for what it is. But, still cool guns. I get it. It's just, unfortunately, if there's any company that you're going to be paying for the name and kind of the lure around it, and that cool factor, it's going to be HK. Tyler, do you think SKSs would be affected by any import ban at this point in time? Tyler, probably not, just because most of what is in the country is already imported. There's not many rifles in the military surplus market that are still being imported. But with that being said, if there are any hope of getting, for instance, more recently, we saw Type 56 SKSs, Chinese SKSs being imported. Palmetto State had some, Classic Firearms had some, a bunch of other people had some. Those would not be happening if there was an importation ban, potentially. It could be the fact that they have a grenade launching sight and a bayonet, right? I don't know. Yes, they're 10 rounds rather than something over 10 rounds, but they could still be affected as well. It's really tough to say. GatCat, will this apply to Italian-made Metgar mags? It would apply to any imported high-capacity magazine. So yes, it doesn't matter, where it's coming from. That would be an issue. To my understanding, everything could change. I don't know. Benelli M4 would be banned. I don't know. Again, unfortunately, I am just trying to tell you guys what their letter of recommendation or ask or whatever is saying. I don't know. Ultimately, they haven't given any specifics on what that would look like. Do you think the SCAR 16 is worth the premium? No, I do not. Not even a little bit. I would never pay that for that rifle. Sorry. Really cool. I just would not drop that much money on it. CE Stoner, I'm guessing this won't affect US-made AK, but still go up in price. Yeah, so, no, it's not going to affect immediately, like banning the rifle. But you better believe if there are no other options than that one US-made AK, and to limit it down even more, there's not many people out there that make good, reliable US-made AKs. So those very few companies that do actually make a reliable 100% US made AK, yeah, the prices are going to go through the roof because what is the other option, right? And mind you, some of the high-end AK manufacturers here in the States, sorry guys, do not just build everything 100% US made. A lot of them use parts kits still, and those parts kits would probably not be coming in. I don't know. Would they not? That's another question. John, Arsenal has Circle 10 mags on its website right now, mostly sold out elsewhere. Yeah, I would, again, buy them while you can. Okay. GatCat, any ban will decrease overall supply and certainly increase prices of all things that aren't banned. I would agree. I would agree. GatCat, if Aguila, Magtech, SMB, etc. is no longer available on the shelves, then Federal is going to be that much harder to get, forcing the hand of the retailer to increase prices even further. Exactly. I think personally this could be a major blow that is pretty smart on their part because it's probably going to be having a lot more effects than maybe you think it's going to have if it were to happen. Thompson, in order of importance, stripped AR lowers, high cap mags. Yeah, I mean, having the lowers is great. Right now, it's really tough to get parts to complete it. So I would get, an okay amount of lowers. I wouldn't go, broke over buying lowers. But, I would have a couple and save them for a rainy day. I have a couple of strip lowers myself personally in case something breaks. If something breaks in a lower in one of my rifles or whatever, I want to be able to pretty much rebuild that entire lower from the ground up and replace it and get a new one. A lot of people forget to get spare parts. The beauty of an AR-15 is the fact that you could literally rebuild the entire rifle if you have that much spare parts laying around. Even if you get a catastrophic failure and your rifle explodes, you could still rebuild the entire thing. And that's where parts come in. Sorry, guys. I'm still having some issues talking for long periods of time, so bear with me. But the SP5 is so much fun, though you can buy roller delay blowback copy for way less. It is fun, for sure, and it has the cool factor, absolutely. Victoria, how much do you think a Wasser 10 7.62 AK-47 is worth today? Victoria, I would say that anything over $1,000, I really would not be willing to pay for that rifle. I think $1,000 or below, it's getting steep. I would like to be as south of $1,000 with that rifle as possible. But $850, $900, I would still pay. $1,100, $1,200, no, I would not. It's just not worth that. You could start getting into Arsenal AKs for that much money. The Wasser is just not worth that. If you don't have any AK, and this importation ban seems to be really chugging along, getting some steam, more steam than it is now, and you want to get an AK, you want to get one that's reliable, you want to get one that's foreign made, and you see a Wasser for $1,200 and you want to pay 200 extra bucks just to get it before it's $3,000, then sure. you know, obviously. But I would search far and wide, and you could probably find one for less than $1,000. Gat any interesting ideas for targets at the range, either store-bought or DIY? I generally shoot steel targets. You know, steel tends to be the most fun to shoot. The biggest issue with targets at the range, now obviously, if you're out there in like the Midwest, you know, something like that, or the West Coast where you might have a lot of land, like state game lands or whatever, then you can bring a lot more fun targets. Here on the East Coast, you're not going to find that much land available to just be able to, you know, do whatever you want. So a lot of ranges are going to have limitations to the targets that you have, you know, and that you can bring. Luckily, I go to a range now where I can bring steel, you know, and whatever. But for most people, it's just going to be steel or paper. It's the reality of it. Thompson, farthest, you've shot a 5.56 rifle. Not far. That's the reality of it. I live in Pennsylvania where there is not much room to reach out. Farthest I've shot one is 300 yards. That's it. You know, all the ranges that I go to, I do not have any ability to reach out past those distances, unfortunately. So I would love to get into more distance shooting in the future. My knowledge of it is not super great just because I don't have the ability to do it. If you live, you know, Midwest, whatever, have a lot more area to reach out on, then, you know, you guys are going to have a lot more abilities than I do here in good old Pennsylvania. Sam, great point. Parts, mags, ammo for guns you already have. Absolutely. Absolutely. I see so many people right now, to touch back on, like, should I get an NFA item right now? Like, people are spending almost $1,000 plus tax stamp on a suppressor. Like, that's unbelievable to me when you could buy almost $1,200 worth of magazines, spare parts, and ammunition for the guns that you already have. Wait times might go up with the NFA, but suppressors, all that stuff, that's not going anywhere anytime soon. Will it go somewhere in the distant future? Sure, maybe. But right now, that's not going anywhere. Magazines, possible guns going out is a very high probability. Just based off people buying, let alone legislation. Parts for your gun, buy parts that are easy to get. I mean, like I said before, you can pretty much rebuild an entire AR with ease. That's how easy it is to build that rifle. It's not even building, really. It's assembly. So why not have all of those extra parts? I mean, you could spend $1,000 and get all of those extra parts and have those on hand. Many people don't realize that if something happens and guns are really tough to find, parts are also going to be a problem. And if your gun goes down, it's not going to matter what gunsmith you bring it to. If they can't get the parts to fix it, that's it. Your gun that you spent all this money on and you thought you were, you know, good for whatever's going to happen is now really kind of an expensive stick. So that's a big problem as well. Paper plates are cheap, or even index cards. Staple them to a larger cardboard backing. Yeah, you could do that too. Do you think it's a waste of time to get on Federal's website at 5 a.m. On certain weekdays and check for the drops for 22LR? I don't think that's dumb. I think there's going to be many other people that are doing just that. It might be really hard to get, but I don't think it's dumb at all. I think there's a lot of people doing that as well. How much should an AUG be? I've seen them going for 2.5K. I can tell you in normal times, I saw base models of the Steyr AUG all below 2,000, sometimes at like 1,700, maybe one that was used for 1,500, 1,900, depends on the model. I personally, I think there's a lot of cool factor with the AUG, sure. I really wouldn't be interested in one. That's just me. So I don't know that I would ever be willing to pay like $2,500 for an AUG. It's not worth it. Moski, thank you so much for the donation, man. I seriously appreciate that. Any recommendation for a sub $400 stripped 6.5 Grendel upper? Oof. I don't. Probably Palmetto State might be your best option for sub $400. It's going to be really tough to find a good quality upper in that caliber for sub $400. I don't know that you are going to find it. So look around, but you might want to up the amount just a little bit so that you can get something that's actually going to shoot reliably. I have a friend who went from 0 firearms to 35 in 2020 and now has 8 22LR firearms and really no ammo. That sucks. The Masters, you bring up really a common theme here. A lot of people right now are rushing to build their collection of firearms, which is great, but the reality of that is that most of these people that are brand new into the industry and just want to buy everything they can, they don't really realize that they don't have any ammo. So they have all these brand new guns, but they have no ammo to put through them. They have nothing to shoot. So was it really worth it to get that many? Or maybe just getting a bulk of necessary items for training and self-defense, and for home defense, defense against tyranny, whatever, and spend the rest of all that money on ammo and magazines and parts and everything like that. I hate to break it to a lot of those folks, but you kind of miss the boat on the collection game, right? Like, collecting firearms and building a large, cool collection of guns really kind of stopped being able to be done almost 2 years ago now. Anybody that got into the industry, started collecting many, many years ago, you're going to have an awesome collection right now, and that's what you get for collecting when times are good. Right now, if you're a brand new gun owner in 2020, I hate to break it to you, but that boat has sailed. You can get all these guns, but you're not going to have any ammo to shoot through them, and that kind of doesn't make any sense. So at this point, if you're just getting into the industry, trust me, I get it. I love collecting firearms myself. I have a collection of firearms. But if you have nothing, now would not be the time to buy like 35 guns. Now would probably be the time to buy like 4 or 5 guns, and that, other 30 guns, the money you would have spent should have been spent on ammo, mags, parts, accessories for those guns that you already have. That's the reality of it. Jordan, thank you so much for tuning into the B channel, man. So for those of you that don't know, I actually have a B channel. There's not that much content that gets posted frequently, but whenever I have special stuff in my life, or I want to do a vlog, I post it over on the B channel. That channel is called FF Lifestyle. The link's down in the description after the live. And I posted a little bit of a tour of how I had my area set up, my armory set up. For the most part, I don't show you guys everything because obviously I keep some privacy there. But I had some Seville Classics metal cabinets, and that's what Jordan's referencing there. And Jordan, they're holding up great. I absolutely love those cabinets. So unbelievably worth the money, it's not even funny. But do you guys have any other further questions before we wrap up this live stream here? I'm hoping that some of this information was helpful. I think these are really tough times, and I think realistically, there's a lot of stuff down the pipeline. John, thank you so much for that, man. I really appreciate that. You guys have no idea how much that helps me out. GatCat, great job keeping the live stream going through 31. Have a great week. Thank you, man. I'm trying. All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap us up here. If you guys have any other questions, please throw them down below in the comment section. Thank you all so much for watching, taking time out of your Saturday, Sunday to listen to me ramble. And seriously, I really do appreciate it. If you do want to check out any sort of full feature-length edited videos, you can click my channel down below. Please remember to hit that subscribe button. We are almost at 25,000 subscribers here on the Firearm Freedom YouTube channel, which is crazy. Just unbelievable to think about. But yeah, it's just super cool. So if you guys could share it around, hit that subscribe button, it really helps me out. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, stay tuned for more great videos to come soon.